In this part of the class, we will give the overview of Leviticus chapters 11 to 15. What are these chapters all about? What is God trying to communicate to us as a New Testament believer, and how it was applicable then for an Old Testament saint or Israelite? So these chapters talk about the clean things and unclean things. Then also it talks about a clean person and unclean person. Then it talks about ceremonially being clean and ceremonially being unclean. Chapter 11 is talking about the unclean animal, clean animal, and the diet, which is clean and unclean. And chapter 12 is talking about unclean person and clean person when he is purified or when she is purified. Chapters 13 and 14 is talking about leprosy and being healed of a leprosy and uncleanness and what is clean. And then you have moth in the garments, unclean garment and a clean garment. Then you have leprosy in the house, unclean house and a clean house. And then chapter 15 is talking about bodily discharge, specifically private bodily discharge, and a clean, a person being unclean. So this word clean and unclean appears in the book of Leviticus about 150 plus times. I want you to think about these two words here. And God did not use the word good and bad. He didn't say this is good and that is bad. Why God did not use the words good and bad, and why God used the words unclean and clean? I want you to think about it. Why did he say that? So there is a ism in this world which is used many times, and you would hear in the soul winning, that is called relativism. Right? Relativism talks about there are no absolutes. Right? There is no truth, and there are only opinions. And what you believe in, it's your opinion. What I believe in, it's all relatively compared from human to human. Right? That is good for you, this is bad for me. And this is good for me, and that is bad for you. But God did not use those words, good and bad. And he is not talking about relativism here. And he is talking about the standard being derived from God. When he says clean, you know what do you mean by that? You are ceremonially clean in terms of your approach to God. And when he says about unclean, and he says you are ceremonially unclean and you are hindered in your approach to God. And God is not deriving the standard from one man to another man. God is deriving the standard from himself to his people. And you need to remember that the Israelites were called as a priestly nation in Exodus 19, which means that they were God's people, set apart for God's people. And then there is another question arises here when we talk about like that. Is it God being exclusive only to Israelites? And when we talk about election, is it an exclusive privilege? No. Don't get me wrong. God is not trying to be very, very exclusive. And like you see exclusive Adidas showroom, and there are no other items of any other company brands being sold there. No, God is not creating or giving an exclusive privileges to the nation of Israel. But election is an included responsibility, which means God is preparing his people so that they would stand tall among all the other nations, and God would use them as the light and the salt so that the other nations would get to know God. That is the main aim of the words unclean and clean and all those things, and you keep in mind. So what is the New Testament reference for us? And Apostle Paul is writing in Romans chapter 12 verse 2, do not be conformed to this world. Look at the word conformed. It is basically talking about the external modification, right? Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The word renewing and transformed, it is talking about something that is internal. And in your thinking, right, Christianity, mind matters, right? So in your thinking, being transformed in the renewal of your mind, you would actually present your bodies as a living sacrifice, which is acceptable to God and which is the reasonable service of worship in Romans chapter 12, verse 1. And that is the New Testament application. And this is how we view Leviticus chapters 11 to 15. Thank you so much.